So over the last couple months, I've been seeing a little dive in my own personal numbers, and it's kind of been driving me a little crazy. And so John so lovingly decided to take me on and help me out. And he's kind of asking these questions that we're going to go over tonight. And I'm thinking of all of the things he's saying, and I wasn't doing any of the action. I was working, I was here, I was present, but I wasn't doing the things that we need to do to earn an income. I wasn't doing the income producing activities. Of course, I was making a reel here and there and adding my stories, but that's like putting up a billboard inside of your restaurant, right? You still need to have conversations and do all of those things. And those were the things I wasn't doing. And now, really taking a step back and reflecting and having that list that we're going to go over and how to get there. I'm already seeing an improvement in my demeanor, first of all, but second of all, in helping people. And my customers have been so grateful that I've been reaching out to them and all these great things. So I'm really excited for you guys to get through this too, because often we see a lot of times you'll see me in the chat all day or you'll see me on Zooms all day. And I mean, of course, those are considered work. And I think it's an important part of your business to be indulged into the community, but really your business is never going to grow without doing the income producing activities, right? And so I've started making a commitment to myself that in the morning before I check any chats and before I do any Zoom calls, I'm doing either all or most of my income producing activities. And then that way I have the rest of the day to hang out with you guys. So I will pass it over to John and he can explain what we talk about.
All right. Well, some of you know me, some of you don't. And some of you I've kind of vaguely been hinting at this through some of the questions I've been asking you in your private chats. And as I talk to more and more of you, a lot of you guys are kind of you're focused on the how more so than you're focused on your whys and your whats, right? So everybody's kind of focused on how do I do this? How do I do that? Instead of focus on like, why do you want to do this? What do you want from this? And so when I was talking with Nicole, I was like, well, where do you see yourself in 25 years? Right? Like what is your end game? How do you see this part of your life and reflecting on that? What do you want? Because without really knowing what your end is and where you want to go, you can't map a course to get there. And so we started talking about some of those
It's
some of
today's
those
Brenda's
things.
birthday. It's today's Brenda's birthday.
Tomorrow.
And so then from there, we started working back that with the goals she wanted, we knew where she needed to be and what she kind of needed to start bringing in to hit those marks. And so kind of what we need to do is figure out where a lot of you guys is what your personal whys and whats are. And we kind of walked through, she didn't know it, but there's a framework that one of my mentors has shared with everybody and encourages us to share. And it starts kind of with that whole figuring out what do you want in 25 years, right? So once you know that, like I say, we can work from there. So if you guys know your whys or you know what you want, does anybody want to share any of that stuff? Or do you want to share yours, Nicole? Or I lost everything. There we go.
Oh, I spotlighted you and then I was like, well, maybe that's a bad idea. I was sharing my why. Is that what you're asking?
Well, just kind of how we started with your goals, right? Like,
yeah, well, the 25.
You didn't have anything, you didn't have an answer for me. You gave me, well, this, and this. And from there, we kind of just dove deeper and deeper, right?
Yeah, and actually, yeah, that question really threw me off. It's 25 years because I've never really thought that far ahead ever. Until he kept asking questions and digging deeper, and then it kind of hit me. Freedom is a big thing for my husband and I, and so we've already talked about, when we're 50, how cool would that be to get an RV and, have a home for our kids, and they don't have to worry about their education. They don't have to worry about paying for a roof over the head while trying to raise kids and all that stuff. We know how hard that is. So that's been really interesting to break down my next 25 years and what's going to look like, because for the last 2 years, especially, I'm like running to month end, and that's as far as my site has been. And so now that I'm thinking more long term, it actually feels a lot better and less pressure on me too.
Yeah, and we know where we're going, right? Because we did, stepping aside from that too, even with the Amari trip, we broke that down for you too. And we started at those points and kind of broke it down to, here's what we need to hit each month, and now you have something to track it and build from. So the biggest thing that kind of hit me when I started doing this process too is I was like her, I was just like, well, shit, let's get through the month first, right? And then when I started thinking about it, it's like making sure I physically wrote stuff down, right? Like I have one of these remarkables that never leaves my side now, and I write everything down. Um, from anything, just random thoughts get written down instead of typed into my phone, which I never went back to. So that's freed up my mind quite a bit, and it's allowed me to dream a little more and figure out where I want to go. And I've got something I can physically go back and review. And so now I have a list of, I have a on my phone now. I have a notepad or a note that shows my 25-year my goal, and then it's broken down into 5-year increments, and then broken down from there, and then broken down from there. So I've got a monthly goal, I've got weekly goals now that all fit to tie into that larger 25-year goal, right? And it allows me to keep myself clear and make sure I'm on the path I want to be on, that when a shiny object comes up, I don't just chase it. Bethany and I were talking the other day, and she had one that was, she's like, you should spend time to write a course on how to make these dome greenhouses, because she had that vision in the shower. And I didn't respond right away, but I sat down, and knowing where I want to take me and my businesses and having that mapped out, I could instantly look at it and go, this doesn't align with where I'm going. So this is a distraction now. And that's what I told her, right? Like, I don't see this getting me where we need to go. Here's why. Another example of that is when I didn't follow it, I've taken on a deck that I never wish I did, because it's taking so much time and adding so much stress to me that I thought I was going to be making some extra money, and it's actually costing me money now, because that didn't align with where I want to go. And so now I've lost 2 other projects because I don't have time to get to them. I don't, excuse me, I don't have the staffing to get to them anymore in that company. So that was another reflection of, okay, if I knew this stuff from the beginning, I would have chased that right away, right? Does everybody kind of got the understanding of why we need our bigger goal to know where we're going? I don't see.
It makes perfect sense. And I'm thinking too, like how many times I've thought of other opportunities while I was here. I'm like, well, I could just do Amari and this. And then you kind of dive into looking into something else and seeing what's going on. And I think a lot of us can attest to doing that many times.
Right. Do you have the link to that one sheet? I don't have it in front of me anymore for some reason.
The
We could
little
throw that in
graph,
the
is
chat.
that what
Yeah,
you're
we
talking
could,
about? Yeah,
the chart and all that I showed you. Where did it go?
I've got it here in your message.
I've got too many things open. Anybody else have that problem?
Is that the right one? Dreamlight?
Is that the one we did today?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you
Do you want me
open
to share
this
my
up,
screen?
if you want, did you fill any of it out?
No.
No, it doesn't. Anybody can grab this, I believe, if they want to make a copy of it, but this is the basic framework for the process, right? And you can kind of as we go through it, we'll just go through the high level of it, and you can start to take this and develop it to just about everything you do. Did you share your screen? I don't see it. Or do you want me to share mine? I can't. Was everybody able to get a copy of it? Cool. So essentially it just breaks it down, right? So the permission to dream, that's your big goal, or like, my mentor calls it their North Star, right? So like this is what they're constantly driving to, and it can constantly change, but it always gives you that this is where we're going. And then another one we have for my business side, it's our strategic objective. And that's what we're taking the company to and how we're going there. And when I took on these other projects or this deck, that went against my strategic objective, and now I'm paying for it on the back end, right? So having that one thing that we're driving to really helps keep that focus. So when you guys set that up or have that, then you start to break it down into smaller chunks. So you can kind of look at it as a lot of you have the goals to hit these next ranks, right? And so if you look at, say your goal is to get to silver, now how do we get to silver? We got to break that down. So you need certain structure requirements, you need certain volume requirements, right? And so as you're hitting these things and understand these goals, we can start to set some standards. And then from there, it's like, okay, I'm going to reach out to this many people on this platform. I'm going to hit this many, and this is like a daily thing or a weekly thing. So if you do, there are things that it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a defined goal, right? It's measurable. You can sit down and say, yes, I did this, or no, I didn't. It's not, I'm gonna get to bronze, or I'm gonna do this. It's the how of what you're gonna do to it. So having those metrics of posting X amount of reels and reaching out to this many cold people, or whatever it takes to get that smaller goal, that quarterly goal broken down, those are the tasks that kind of fill in that focus. And then the next one is so that you can start to list out the resources that can help you do that, whether it's people, whether it's training, whether it's coaching, what those are, so that you can come back and look at those after you set your standards. You'll have that all in one place. And then the last one is what are you going to reward yourself for? What's your reward for achieving that goal? So the more personal you make this, and the more you tie family or team members or stuff like that into it, the more likely you are to follow through with it, because you're not gonna let your family down, right? Like if you say we're gonna do this if I get here, you're gonna do that so that you're gonna push that much harder to get there, versus if I do this, I'm gonna go on this shopping spree, right? Well, that doesn't really matter. If you book a trip and then you can't take the trip with your family, but you send your family, you're gonna push that much harder, right? So that's kind of the celebrate your journey part, so that you have something to drive to. And then connecting triggers to that is like every time I sit down in my truck now, I look at my Google Doc that has my goals on it, both for my 25-year goal, my 10 years, my yearly, and my quarterly. And then the three goals I'm focused on right now to get, and each one builds up to the next one. And so I'm looking at my goals probably like 6 to 8 times a day, just because every time I sit in my truck, I pull that part out. And I don't do it in every car, because if I sit in the van with the family, there's no point, right? Like there's so much going on in the background with screaming kids and everything else that I'm not focused on it. But when I sit in my truck, I'm in work mode. I'm in that phase where those those goals mean that much more at that point. So this is kind of the framework that I walked Nicole through. She didn't know we were going through this and the questions we were asking. I've kind of started to push a few of you guys down this path in our conversations as well. And it's crazy because everybody will start to type and then they'll stop because they think they know, and then when they sit there and start to realize, wait a minute, I don't have this. Or when I ask, well, why is this? Or how do you do that? Nobody has those answers yet, because you just see, this is where I want to go. There's no accountability, there's no action to it, right? Like Nicole went out and made a whole checklist that she shared with me, and now I just have to say, hey, send me your checklist, and I can see if she'll write it right away because she's got it written up and she's got her checks done. And like she said, when she sits down or she gets when she gets lost, or not, I guess lost isn't the word, distracted, whatever, and just goes, oh shit, what am I supposed to be doing? She can pull that up and here's her standards, right? Like, these are the 5 things I need to do each day to make sure this hits me to this rank. So that's kind of the process at a high level. If anybody has any questions, I can go ahead and go from there. If Nicole wants to share her stuff, I'm fine with that too.
I do. You guys just either chime in or type in the chat and we can get to your question. But until then, I'll just
I have something
continue
real
to
quick.
talk. Yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
Can you explain what unlock your resources is again?
So that's like, who can help you, right? Like, who's got the training you need? Where is the training? What is the training? Who can I call for support? Who am I going to share this with so that I'm accountable for it? That's like the biggest one, is making sure that you share it with somebody so that they can check in on you and just say, hey, how you doing on this? You know, I'm horrible at that one personally. Like, that's one of my things, is to share my stuff with it more. And I threw that at Nicole, and she I don't even think she knows it, because one of my goals is to get an assistant. And I was frustrated and all of that. And we were in a conversation, and I was just like, I need an assistant. And I never said this is a goal. I just said, this is what I need as my way of starting to get that out there, right? So it doesn't matter who you tell or the resources you have, just that you know that they're there so you can start to lean into them when you need them.
Is that good, Caitlin? Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you.
You bet. Well, I guess I didn't do it, but you're so welcome. Okay, I'm gonna share a Canva link with you for this one's the blank one. You can print out. Or you can copy it from this Canva link and create your own and fill it in that way if you're a little bit tech savvy and can do the typing on the Canva. And if not, you can do it, just print it off or whatever. And I left a little bit of an explanation from it. And I'll also share a quick photo of what mine looks like. If I can figure out how to add photos. Okay. So there's the photo of what I have filled out, and we'll just go through it because this was the really cool thing that when we were doing, John was going through this with me, is something I've just never done, and I know what an income producing activity is. And I don't know, you get lost in the run of the day, right? And so I committed to myself. So these are the standards of success. So I know if I don't check these off, and I just check them off, I go into like it's saved in my favorite photo, and then I edit and just do a little check mark because I'm not much of a paper person anymore. I just won't do it if it's on paper because I'm scattered all around the place all the time, forever. I'm just everywhere. But if I have it on my phone, I can just edit the photo really quick, right? And so the things that I know that I can do to up level in this business or I can make 2 reels a day. And I want to make sure I'm rotating between like a holistic tip because I know that's what's going to bring my followers in, and one for my business, or one for the business opportunity, sorry, and then one for Happy Juice. So I will just continuously rotate through those 3. I will connect with my running brand partners on Tuesdays, and, just keep the dream, visualize a dream for them, talk to them, check in on them, what have you. I'm going to feed people into my automations daily. That's something that I do with Project Broadcast at Flowdesk. I'll connect and track 3 new leads each day. I'll post a lifestyle in my stories 6 times a week. I will connect with 2 customers each day, and I will spend 15 minutes daily connecting with followers. And one thing he said that really hit me, so of course we had, a little reward for each thing, but the big thing that he said was the consequences of not doing this. If I don't have these checked off, what are the consequences? And one of the things said, if you don't get 1,600 points, you don't get to go to Mexico or Cabo, wherever we're going. And at first I was like, oh my God, that's so scary. Like, I want to make sure I go to Cabo. And then I was like, oh my God, if I don't get 1,600 points, I can't go. I can't take my whole family there. And it was just a funny little aha moment I had. But it's true, the real consequences, right? If I don't achieve these, I won't be able to walk across the stage as Diamond when I want to. I won't be able to take my family on the trip and things like that. So the consequences are really real. And we have to kind of think about that's what's going to happen. But now also with this checklist of standards, first of all, I have more direction, so I know what to do. And I just lost the second thing that I was going to say. It's too late at night for me. I don't know. It's really important though. It's giving me direction. I'm trying to say. But I totally get lost in the hustle and bustle, and I was not doing these. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. It takes the pressure off me because every day I'm like, oh, I need to run. I need to find an enrollment. I need to find an enrollment. I need to find an enrollment. And now it's just like, I don't need to find an enrollment. I'm just gonna do these standards of success. I'm gonna do them, and enrollments are gonna naturally come, right? If I tell you to go get an enrollment, you're like, shit, I haven't enrolled anybody in a couple months. I don't know where to look. I don't know how to get one. So we don't always know how to go get them. But if we have this, we know exactly how to get them, right? And it takes the pressure off of you.
Well, and that, to kind of sum part of that up too, is you have the what in front of you. You have what you need to do, and you don't need to worry about, as soon as you say, I need to get an enrollment, you said it, how do I go get this? Well, you don't need to worry about that how part of it, because you know that you have these to go through. So if you stay true to these, that how part will come in, right? And you don't have to go try and do 15 different things. You know what's working. You've got that map. So you just have to stay true to that.
Yeah, I love this too. I did too, Janice. It really helped me. And I mean, now it seems so simple, but for some reason it was not clicking in my brain.
Well, and that's part of it is too, is everybody's like, we're naturally drawn to think about, how do I do this? Like, if you said, I'm going to go make $1 million, or you should go do 75 hard, whatever the trending thing is, your first thought is, oh, how do I do that? And not, why should I do that? Or what am I going to benefit from if I do that? Right? We instantly go into, how do we do this? Instead of sitting back and going, well, what will this do for us? Or how, or not how, but why would I want to do this? Why does this align with where I want to go? And so it comes back to that, allowing yourself to dream, right? Like, your 25-year goal should be something that's so unrealistic, so out there, that you sit back and look at it and you hit it. If you hit it, you're like, holy crap, it shouldn't be something that's mundane. So a few of you sent me stuff, and I didn't mean to be rude about it, but I was kind of like, well, that's just like the basics of living. right? Like that's not a goal. That's just getting by. Like my 25-year goal is to have the resources and the knowledge for my great grandchildren's to never have to work, right? So that's building an empire. That's giving financial knowledge, how to sustain the fortunes that are built, how to build those fortunes, all of that kind of stuff. That's not just here's a business, let's go do this. Like that's a whole lifestyle. That's everything. And that gets passed down through my kids and through their kids as well. So that's my North Star, is to make sure that my grandchildren are taken care of. So each thing I come back to goes back to that. Excuse me, sorry. So I gotta say, when you sit down and think about it, allow yourself to really dream and push the limits.
Just gonna refer to the chat here. We got a couple girls. I totally understand where the girls are coming from, because it takes a while to expand your mind, and just what Josh Coates is saying, it's just constantly about stretching your goal, stretching your goal. But what I'm thinking of is that maybe you've seen the little cartoon where the man's like going in the dirt with a pickaxe and then he gives up and the diamond was like right there. Like, what if your whole life up until right now was all struggle, but like you're done. You finished your struggle cup. It's all done and it's all just, I mean, obviously, it just, kind of elaborating to expand your mind a bit. What if you used up all your struggles? Your struggle cup's done and it's all uphill from here on out. Like all of these things can shift. And like we talk about with Bill and Brian is the quantum flip, right? Like your quantum flip could literally be tomorrow. But we're thinking, well, my life's been a struggle the whole time. I totally understand. Like I've struggled a lot and a lot, and I'm like, okay, well maybe this is the last one. But we learn so much in all of those struggles, and we hear about movie stars and all of these people all the time that they came from poverty, they were beaten, abused, and left at orphanages, and they had these horrible, and now they're like billionaires. Like that can be you too. But if we're focused on the struggle, it can't be. So I guess we just get to decide what we're going to believe. And we have to shift our thinking to, we always thought we have to see it to believe it. We need to believe it to see it. So that's the key shift. I mean, we grew up in a society where we have to do that. And we really need to flip flop that. Or you will never see it if you don't believe it.
Right. And looking through one of these things, I can't remember. Somebody was talking about, well, what's the framework for a 25-year goal? And there's not really a framework to it. It's, excuse me, what do you, when we're kids, we have dreams, right? And we don't know any better because the world's limitless. And then as we go on, we kind of lose that momentum of we can do anything. Apparently, I cannot talk anymore today. So to kind of get to that 25-year goal, you got to start getting some small wins for, excuse me, getting small wins to start gaining some momentum. And as you gain momentum, you're going to continue to evolve those goals, evolve and dream bigger and continue to grow. So if 25 years seems too far for you, start at a year. Just start something, write something down, share it with people, and then work from there. Does that make sense? Did I help answer that question? Who was it? I think Olivia, right?
So I have a question. I don't have I'm not really a person that can put goals into I don't know how to word this. I have a why. I definitely have a why. But I don't like whenever I think about goals, goals are so hard for me because I don't have like a in 10 years I want to be doing this because I just don't live like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't I
Right. You're
so how
not
do I yeah.
that's where you got to break that ceiling of allowing yourself to dream, right? Like, how do I explain that? Like, it's not that you don't or you're not able to think that way. You've just kind of been in the day-to-day grind where I got to get this. This is my reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we were talking about it, it kind of goes back to like that whole hot tub thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, just fucking do the hot tub. Like, it doesn't matter anything else. Like, that's a dream. That's what you want. Just do it for yourself. And when you start to get those wins, more and more stuff will start to unlock, right?
Right.
Like 25 years when he said that, I was just like, fuck, alive,
Yeah.
above
Yeah.
dirt, that'd be great. And so it took me a long time to figure out where I really want to go. And it took a lot of it was a lot of random thoughts, honestly, like listening to stuff here and there and listening to his story and how he did stuff. And like, you guys don't understand how many of these millionaire billionaires came from like the trailer parks and just what we would consider shit lives, and they've turned their stuff around, and they've taken those chips and that have been on their shoulders, and that's given them the drive, and everybody can do it. We just get comfortable, right? I have an old mentor that I used to write on my notebooks, comfort is a silent thief, on top of every notebook, to remind me that as soon as I get comfortable, I'm losing something somewhere else, right? Like, to grow, you've got to be on that edge of uncomfortability. Is that even a word? You got to be like out there where you're not comfortable, right? And so to kind of circle back, start small and start to figure out, use your kids, right? Like, that's going to be your biggest motivator. How can you make your kids' lives better? And when you start thinking about that stuff, then you'll start to grow, and then take whatever that is and then make that bigger. And it'll all start to develop and fall into place, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
makes
then
sense.
the reason goals are hard is because you'll set a goal. So let's just say everybody sets a New Year's goal to lose weight, right? I want to lose this much weight by this date. And that's their goal. The key to setting the standards is, how are we going to do that, right?
Right.
Like, weight loss can be, there's one thing going around that weight loss, it reflects to the 80-20 rule, right? Weight loss is 80% diet, 20% workout. So when you set your standards to what you're going to eat, how you're going to eat it, when you're going to eat it, what you're going to work out, and how you're going to work out, you have a checklist. And when you do all of those things, it's inevitable that you don't lose that weight, you don't gain that goal, right? That's kind of the point of those standards, is it gives you that these are my action items. If I do all of these action items, I can't not hit this goal. Does that help?
Yep, that makes sense.
So
I like what Caitlin said, not knowing the how and the when, or when it'll happen, is just walking forward in faith. Is so true. Um, I had an experience the other day where I was just like, where the frig am I gonna find money? And I went and did something that I, shouldn't have, spent more than I needed to. And I was like, I'm just gonna totally trust that, the universe has my back. I'm gonna be fine. I can go spend this money. But after I left the checkout, I walked to my truck and I barely had my hand on the door handle, and I received a phone call, and I was getting it was just a company I had spent over $800, and they're like, yeah, we want to refund you all that money. Like, totally random. I've been spending the money since January, so it wasn't like just a one purchase thing. Um, and I had no idea, like, how would I have known that they were going to call and say that, right? But I just said to myself, I'm just going to trust that this is going to work out. Everything's going to be completely fine. And I didn't know the how. I mean, I was kind of like, yeah, maybe I'll, get a bunch of enrollments. That's kind of where my brain was going because that's how I earn income. And yeah, it just totally came and blindsided me. But I believe fully that that only happened because I wasn't focused on the how. I was just getting what I needed and trusting the process. So we never know how or who's going to come out of the woodworks or what's going to happen. Just fully trust it's going to happen. And if you're doing the steps, it's coming.
That's it. I've got, so another one of the company goals I have is to open my business in five different locations, 5 different states. No idea how I'm going to do it or what's going to happen, but I've got my Washington one going. I just got a client that wants me to come build a house for him in Utah. So now there's a second one that just opened up, right? So when that opportunity came up, I instantly went back to my strategic objective. Just happens to be have 5 locations, have my business open in five different locations, 5 franchises. So now I instantly could say, okay, this is worth pursuing because this falls into everything else, right? Like when you're not focused on how you're going to do something, everything else, just like Nicole said, just starts to fall into place because you're doing the work you need to do and building those relationships and all of that other stuff will start to drop and just fall into these places. I'm horrible at keeping up with the chat too, by the way. So if you have something in there and I don't see it, let me know.
Olivia just asked if you're not seeing results from any activity, how do you know what's working or not? How do you know if it's working or not?
Do you have more, what do you like results for what? What are your expectations of it? And if you have, I guess the first question is just to jump back and say, what do I expect to happen of this? And if I'm not seeing results, what am I doing or what am I not doing to get to that? Right? I'm going to run with the simple assumption of you're expecting to get X amount of followers or whatever from reels, all of that to build brand partners, right? So if you're not getting those followers, you got to step back from that and say, am I posting consistently? Am I talking to people? However, those stuff works, you just got to start working your way back. Does that make sense? Does that help answer it? I'm not a social media person, so I don't know the exact steps, key processes through that. I just know what Nicole set out and what Bethany says constantly.
And I think too, Olivia, I had a realization the other day. So when I got home from, well, it was a week after I got home from Vegas, I had a call with Bill Banta, and he was saying, I kid you not, he said, if you do a quantum flip, you can attract $10,000 overnight. He said that's just the reality. He said it's just, people obviously struggle to do that, right? And I'm like, dang, I really want to do that. I really want $10,000 overnight. And in just a couple days, I had another phone call, and my favorite coach that I've been studying with for a really long time called and asked if I wanted to be a partner for $10,000 coaching program, absolutely free of charge. And so I kind of laughed and I told Bill about that because we were just talking about it. Now, the $10,000 didn't come to me in cash, like call her back. Can I get the cash instead? No, I'm just kidding. I'm super grateful and super excited. So the abundance didn't come in the form that I had thought, but it did come. It came. That's proof it came. It just came in a different form than currency and cash. So I always try to like come back to the fact that we get mindset calls like this to uplift our personal growth. So let's say 10 years down the road, you make $0 with Amari forever and you're bankrupt, like whatever. we have to count the other wins that we had too, these mindset calls. And like I said, like Bill Banta, his coaching alone is like 10K a month, and all of the skills that we develop in this community and in this business and this industry are seriously super expensive, and we get that for free. Social media training. My friend, you guys, this is the craziest thing ever. She called me, told me she's going to be a nutrition coach in social media. This program, do you know what she paid for just like the social media training and the automation training that we all like provide for our team? $13,000. 13,000. And that's like a few months of like, hey, here you go, here you go, here you go. Okay, bye. Out the door. Like all of these tools that we're learning are super valuable. Anyways, that's a little bit of a tangent. I don't think you're going to go 10 years without making money. I was just trying to elaborate and make my point feel really cool.
Yeah, and what even to go to there, you didn't specify how you wanted your 10 grand. You just said you wanted 10 grand, right? So again, that goes back to dialing in specifics to what it is. And that's where you get that clarity. That's where all of this stuff will come in, and we'll start to dial in. Like if you track what you're doing and where you're spending your time, you'll probably lose your mind, because you'll find out that over 90% of your time isn't producing income. Like that's a scary realization to say. Most of my day is wasted if I'm trying to make X amount of dollars, right? So instead of having that, now you can start to focus on, okay, what is making my income? If I'm not getting success, why am I not getting it? Well, I do this, this, and this. Oh, I binge watch Netflix all weekend, right? Instead of knowing that, now you can step back and say, this is where I need to go. And that's part of writing stuff down. Like I write once a month, I sit down for a week cycle and I'll write down what I did every 15 minutes, just to kind of do a time and energy audit check, time and energy audit, and to make sure that I'm doing stuff that keeps me motivated, and make sure that I'm not doing low dollar tasks that I need to send to an assistant, which I do, and it drains my energy. So that's part of needing an assistant, but now I know what tasks I need to give to that person. So there's a lot to kind of unpack as all of this goes, but you got to start with that simple framework. And for the brand partners and all that, you could set the goal of becoming a builder, right? Like, what's my next step? Here we go. What standards do I need to set that I do and creates the identity of a brand builder? And I need to make sure I do this every single day, and I'll hit that. And then you'll just naturally gain that momentum.
I think my biggest lesson recently too is like almost thinking of this business as a project. And Jill says that to us too. It's like constantly refining. It's almost as if we're trying to run to this perfect space of we know exactly what we're doing and everything is just perfect. And that, unfortunately, I hate to burst your guys' bubble, it doesn't happen no matter what level. It's like, can't wait till I get up to this level where so and so is, because things would just be easier there. I can't wait to get to this level where so and so is, because it will just be easier there. And it's always just a refinement process. So I've been trying to think of my business like a project. How does everybody feel? Do we have any questions? Are we going to go print out our standards checklist and fill that out?
Does anybody want to share how they track their prospects and for like follow-ups, people that you're talking with?
I just use a notebook and it's really messy. Or I don't do, you can add them to a list or like your favorites on Instagram. I have a few people like that, and then that way go and comment on their stuff. And then for follow-ups with customers, at the first of every month, I will print off or screenshot my list of personal enrollments. You go to my business and personal enrollments, and I highlight them as I go, and I make sure I touch point with them at least once a month. And I've been finding huge. I actually meant to talk to John about that because Jill printed off my numbers. And when I started doing that, the customer percentage orders, where's the retention one? Anyways, my numbers went from 47% of brand partners ordered to 76%. And that's just because I started touching base every month, one time. And my customers went from 39% to 62. So huge number changes when you're actually touching base with your customers and brand partners. Huge.
Have you guys seen that statistic sign that breaks down the keys to follow up? Have you guys ever shown that in the group?
I don't think so.
Essentially, it's almost all sales occur between 7 to 12 touches, right? So you need to reach out to somebody 7 to 12 times to get them to buy on stuff that's not an impulse buy. So the more you're talking to people and the more you're following up with them, the closer you get to it. The stats, I don't know if I can find it real quick or not. But the stats are just crazy because most people drop out after 2, right? So I think I talked to Caitlin about it. And if you guys just went into your followers and started reaching out to 3 or 4 of those people a day and continued to start conversation with them and find out why they're following you. I gave that the script to Nicole too, is it's a simple, hey, thanks for the follow. Are you here for the content? Or are you here for the products? And that will force them to make a decision. And at that point, they'll start a conversation with you where you can now go into it because you've just kind of called them out of, oh, I'm just watching in the background, right? Or, oh yeah, I am, but I'm just too busy. So if you guys start reaching out to those people in that manner, you'll start that process, and people that are just following you to either, again, see content or they're on the fence about buying, the more you talk to them, the more you can push them to buy. And that doesn't take much time at all because it's a copy and paste, one sentence. Hey, thanks for the follow. Are you here for the content or are you here for the product? And it kind of gives them a, hey, you're on the fence, which way are you going? And you force that action on them at that point.
I feel like we fire hosed you guys a little bit, but I hope you appreciated it as much as I did and do. Maybe John and I can talk, but maybe we can touch base on this again in like a month. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but maybe this is something we need to create like checkpoints and touch bases because I know like a lot of days I'm like, I hope John doesn't message me for a checklist. I have to go finish it really quick in case he messaged me type thing, right? It's that like scary accountability piece. For some reason, we don't value the accountability to ourselves. I'm working on that. But just the thought of somebody like touching base, you're like, oh my God, I got to get this done really quick in case they call on me or ask me, right? And maybe we need to bring these up a little more often.
I can we can definitely I can dive into it deeper. But I think more or less it's just getting that framework started and getting used to it and starting to transition your minds to start to dream bigger and figure out really where you want to go with this, because I mean, if you get in your car and you just start driving, where are you going, right? Like without a destination, you have no way to get there. You're just aimlessly going somewhere and wasting $5 a gallon. I don't know what you guys pay for gas. I pay close to $5 a gallon right now. So I don't aimlessly drive anymore like I used to. That's not my thinking place anymore. So kind of think of it as, instead of gas, now it's your time, right? Like without having a direction that you want your life to go, you're just wasting your time. And that's way worse than just burning dollar bills, right? We all only get so much time. And how do you want to spend that? Where do you want to spend that?
Right?
And
Any questions? No?
they don't quite make an electric car that'll pull what I need to pull these days. So one day we'll get there, I'm sure.
All right, my question would be, what do you think are the top 5 things that you would do in a day to help really move things forward in the business? Like
Depends on what
non-negotiable, you would do those 5 things every day.
depends on what my business is, right? So in this business, I'd be reaching out to all sorts of people, right? Like any like I said, you got that script for your followers. I'd reach out to my followers. I don't have it up right now and I don't have the exact numbers, but I sent a thing to Nicole, and I mean when you guys look at all the customers and the brand partners that you guys have brought in and already done the hard work that are no longer ordering, you'd probably lose your minds because it's over 50%. So I would start reaching back out to those people to find out, hey, what didn't work for the product? Was it the price? Oh, by the way, we just reduced, the price is now reduced. It's cheaper now. And I would go back and I would target those people because you have that relationship with them. They've used the product once. Maybe they weren't consistent. So if they weren't consistent, they didn't see results and they didn't want to spend the money. So hey, what if I reached out to you every few days and checked in with you to see how you were doing? Would that help you use the product? And then once they gain that, then you just start to keep doing that with more and more people. So in this business, those would be the two places I would start. I'd reach out to all the people that are following me and not buying. I'd reach out to the people that have bought from me in the past and are no longer buying to find out why. And the third one I would probably do is I'd start reaching out to the people I follow that I aspire to be, because that gives you the game plan to go to your next level. And that's where I'd spend my time, with my prospects that I'm working with now, and get as many as I can and try and go back and rescue the ones that stop buying, starting at the most recent ones. Somebody that stopped buying like a year ago, I probably wouldn't reach back out to them until I had more testimonies, more experience of how I brought more people back. But that's where I would start.
That feel good, Whitney?
Yeah, that was definitely good. What about for you, Nicole? What would be your top things?
Well, Bethany and I get in trouble with John because our thing is always reaching out and trying to get new people rather than, and as you can see, that's proof in my numbers, right? So what he said, but on top of that, creating reels to consistently be bringing in new people. So, okay, yeah. So let me start at the first, touching base with customers, brand partners, new or ones that fell off, or sorry, ones that fell off or current ones. And then yes, creating reels to bring these people in, but touching base with followers because they're already somewhat warm prospects, right? Because they followed you for a reason. Especially when people just follow me, I send them that message. Hold on, I'll put it right in the chat because I actually saved it on my keyboard shortcuts. But I still feel that conversations, even with a Facebook following. Yeah, that's my message, Gloria, right there. Even with my Facebook following, it's still conversations, still messages. It is. So I do, where I do have a following, I do try to have conversations kind of in the comment section. So other people are like drawn to me. They're like, wow, she has a conversation with people. I'm going to get to know her, or I'm going to be more encouraged to comment. So that's a little bit of a hack, I guess, I found on Facebook, is that like if you comment, have conversations in the comment sections, it really gives people this like vulnerable side of you, and it invites them to have conversations with you as well. And I always talk to people like, you guys might see me having a comment conversation with somebody, and you might think they're like my best friend or my cousin or my brother or something, and I have no clue who they are. But I talk to everybody like that because they're in my space, they're in my social media corner, and I want them to feel really welcome, and I want them to feel open to talk to me.
Can I make
So
one comment about your thing real quick?
Maybe.
Maybe. Don't cry. I
Oh,
would get rid
goodness.
of the I hope I bring some sort of value to your day, because that takes away from your authority. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like you're saying, hey, look at me. I hope I'm helping you, instead of having it be like, hey, here's the deal, dude. Ex-nurse doing this, doing this.
I
Like
like that, and I don't take offense
it's
because Bethany made this.
kind of doesn't surprise me at all. It just takes away that like the authority factor of it. Like you're saying, hey, I'm kind of here, instead of being like, hey, I'm in your face, let's go get shit done, right?
Okay, cool. So, what would you just say? Hey, thanks for the follow. Are you here because you're a nurse, holistic curiosity, or happy juice?
I would. I wouldn't even give
Okay.
them that. I'd give them the, hey, are you here because I don't know. I stick with I sticking with, do you like the content? Because that covers those three questions. Or are you here for the product? And you want the one you want them to choose to be the second one. Right?
hmm
So you're like, are you here because of my content, or are you here because you want to buy from me? Those are your two options. When you start putting more and more to it, it gives them that wishy-washy. It doesn't give them a quick, I want A or B, right? Do you want vanilla or chocolate? Or do you want Napoleon? Why not have all three, right? Plus strawberry. But it makes it that much quicker.
I
Yeah,
am so bad at this. I just feel like, who the hell do I think I am doing this and telling people to do this shit?
you literally have your name the
Where's
Megan Greenwald.
Oh, I know, but that's because that's for some reason my students are doing
That's
that, so I'm keeping
sassy.
that same energy. They're calling me the
Here,
Mrs. Greenwald, so I'm keeping that same energy because that's where I need to be.
take that energy right in your conversations. They will
Okay,
need happy
so
juice from you.
to
so
go
what
back to
about
Megan real quick though? There's a quote that oh shit, now I'm blanking. I can't find it. Essentially, it's to those that matter, you matter, what you are doesn't matter, right? But the ones that hang on, I'll find it. I'll come back to it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna butcher it at this point, and it'll make no sense.
One
I'm gonna
thing
share
I
what
do. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna share what I came up with real quick. I don't know, you guys can tell me what you think. I said, hey, thanks for the follow. Are you here for the mom life content or the supplements I rave so much about? Is that too wordy?
I mean, I like it, but I don't trust my judgment anymore.
That's why
Well,
I'm
you
looking at
follow
John.
Bethany, so um yeah, I mean it's all right. It goes back to that same, I sent you the email first to get people re-engaged, right? Like the shorter and to the point you can keep it, you kind of send that vibe of, I'm here to help, but I don't have all day to get to it, right? And maybe that's just me because I'm ready to go, and I don't want the longer drawn out conversations. Just what I would do, send that message to 3 people every day, send a more direct one to 3 people every day, and split test them. See which one gets you your results. If more people respond to one than the other, then you go with what everybody's responded to, right?
Okay,
That's
another
like the
quick
only thing
question.
you can do, because everybody's audiences and their followings, they follow you for who you are, right? But being, whether it's wordy or not, kind of is irrelevant. You just want them to make that decision quickly.
Yeah. I shortened it up even more. I just said, are you here for the mom content or the supplements?
There you
I
go.
like that. Next question I was gonna ask Nicole, because you send this to all your new followers on Instagram, correct?
Yeah.
So how do you keep track of, because I know Instagram, like it'll push down and hide conversations when you message so many people. And like I've gotten like 50 new followers in the last several days. And so I know if I go messaging them all tomorrow and like spamming my own chat, I'm gonna lose my prospects. So how do you keep track of that?
I haven't had that issue on Instagram yet. But what about flagging them? Is there a sorting button on
Oh
the
yeah.
inbox?
I
And
used to
then
do
you
it all
could
the time.
flag them and then sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a
Use
filter right below the search bar, and then you could just hit your flagged and then they'll all come up.
use tags. There's tags in Instagram and the chats, and that's the quickest way to search for just about anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can set up a tag for new, somebody I need to reach out to, somebody I need to follow up with, somebody ready to buy,
There's
right?
literally one that says lead
Yep.
or ordered or paid.
And once you tag them, you just walk them through your funnel. And that's how you can quickly go, because then you can reverse your DMs to who's ready to buy. They're my top priority. And then you could go back to and work your way back from there, right? That way you're not focused on cold leads for nothing to come through. And you don't have to search through all of that stuff. Just tag them into the appropriate phase they're in, and then that's where you start working.
So how many times would you message a prospect after so they initially comment on your reel, you send them the info, and then they don't respond? Would you follow back up with them? Would you just leave it?
Yeah, I'd say I'd send them that same message. Hey, I sent you this information. I haven't heard from you in a while. Where do we go from here? You remember that email? It worked once for you, right? It's that same process. Copy and paste, done and done. Because they're going to turn around and they're going to say, oh yeah, I need this, this, and this, or I'm not interested, or let's go. You're the authority in this. They don't know what the hell they want. They're looking through everybody coming on the internet. So you just need to step up and say, this is what we're doing. Here's how it's going to go. If I listen to every, well, I won't say it that way because I'll offend everybody. If I listen to every client that thinks they know how to do a remodel and what they want, I'd be a failing business. Instead of stepping in and say, I see this, this, and this. Here's your budget. This is what we can do. Right? They don't know what they want. They're not the experts. This is my field. This is what I do day in and day out. Here's how we can do it.
All right, everybody. Well, normally we're like a half hour, but this was really good. We went even over an hour. I hope we all feel fired up. It was great, wasn't it? Jon is so wisdomist.
I wouldn't go that far. Like,
Oh,
I had
I
I've
vote
just
John
learned
on.
to follow the people that coach me and actually do what they say, and it helps a lot. So I have just not to I have 3 different coaches. I have one for my business in the construction industry. I have a business coach, and then I have a overall not mental coach, but how would you describe that? He's the one that I get this 5-year plan, this 10-year plan. He's the one that's helping me build my bigger vision and all of that kind of stuff. So the amount my company spends on coaching is ridiculous. So if you need help, I can probably get it to you in the business aspects. Instagram, how to do stuff, not me.
I'm spamming all of my new followers right now, so I'll let you guys know in the chat. how it
Yes,
goes.
Caitlin,
Yes,
that is
let's
it.
close
I
it.
knew I sent it to somebody. So to get to you, back to you, Megan, the quote was, "Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." So it doesn't matter what you think of yourself, because those people won't follow you, right?
All right, Aspen, let us know what kind of results you get from that. Glad I shared that so I could get criticized in front of everybody. Or like, kidding.
It was
Criticize.
beautiful.
Share
Everybody
your
have
chat with them. That'll get you criticized. So
I will upload the recording as soon as we're done. Takes a little while, but I'll post it in our group. I know there's a few people they were doing sports and whatnot, so you guys can get it. to
Thanks,
your
guys.
teams. You're so welcome. The Megan.
Thanks, John. John, just John.
just John.
Just John.
So you're welcome. And like I say, if you guys need, reach out. I don't always have time to answer right away, but I'll get to you as I can. So we're here to help everybody else too. But I'll stay on.